Paul, very good afternoon to you. Now, we've had a bit of an idea of the England team for this evening. Just talk us through who can we expect?
Yeah, good evening, Mike. Welcome to England's team base here in Rome. And yes, the big decision, both personnel and tactical, for Gareth Southgate was around switching back to a back four after facing Germany with a three, of course. In some ways, this will be a much more difficult decision with Ukraine. A little more difficult to predict. They went with a back four in the group stages and reverted to a back three against Sweden. So some speculation about whether they will persist with that, return to the four. But certainly the feeling is that it looks like a four for England with Kyle Walker, John Stones, Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw, a really experienced back line. And you look at someone like Harry Maguire, wow, the injury problems he had and the scare he had going into this tournament. But wasn't he fantastic at Wembley on Tuesday against Germany, not just from a defensive point of view, but the way he takes the ball out of defence confidently and helps begin those attacks as well. And equally, Walker and Shaw, so dangerous against Germany, perhaps just having a different role with if that change. Of course, we can never be certain of this probable team, but if it's very much looking that way, then that is a change back to a four. And Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips expected to keep their place despite being on two of those players on a yellow card, along with Maguire, Phil Foden, the other one. But again, that's perhaps just a sign of not only the importance of the game, but how much trust there is in those players. Remember, Declan Rice got a yellow card early on in that game at Wembley and played the rest of what is an intense game against a fierce rival with that hanging over him, and he coped just fine. So there is an element of trust in those players. They're experienced players. They are used to the fast pace of the Premier League week in, week out, so they can control that, and there's obviously a lot of trust placed in them. But further forward, I mean, what a choice he has, Gareth Southgate, in terms of attacking talent. We know Saka, with that injury down, really a manager like Gareth Southgate doesn't need to take the risk with players like that. Any sort of niggle, what's the point in taking a risk? Look at the attacking talent that is there, and what a week it would be for Jadon Sancho, as expected, if he comes into the starting 11 for the first time in this tournament after agreeing that move to Manchester United. And Mason Mount expected back in the team as well after missing the last couple of games. So yeah, plenty of rotation. It's something that Gareth Southgate has managed really well, the minutes of the players in this tournament. And England haven't conceded a goal yet. They come up against Ukraine tonight, and there is that incentive, Mike, as you say, back where you are at the moment, Wembley Stadium, in a semi-final against Czech Republic or Denmark for a place in a final of a European Championship, again at Wembley. What an incentive to get the victory tonight.
Oh, got the hairs on the back of my neck going there, Paul. Now, in true Gilmour fashion, you've been with the fans in the bars of Rome today. Just give us an idea how confident the England fans are.
Yeah, we were at the Campo de Fiore down in the centre of Rome, and usually, Mike, that is a place that is alive before a big game on the match day, whether that be a Champions League game, whether that be a big international like this is. Yet there were only pockets of England fans that we found, no less vocal than some of the hardcore England fans we would see normally on trips. But look, they are coming from all over the world because we know if you have a UK address, if you've been in the UK at any point in the last 2 weeks and haven't had a chance to isolate for 5 days, then there is just no point. There was no point taking the risk and risking those criminal charges and fines and everything that comes with that. But England fans living abroad are doing their bit. They're flying in from Dubai, they're flying in from France, they're flying in from Germany, they're flying in from Portugal. It's much easier to be an England fan living abroad to get tickets for this game than it is living in the UK at the moment. So they're coming in, they're making their voices known. It's not as busy as it usually is. A lot of empty seats in the bars and restaurants, but they're still getting into the spirits. Some have told us they didn't want to wear their England shirts out in public in the lead up to the game, just in case there were any issues. They were fearful, some were fearful of being mistaken for fans that had travelled from the UK and maybe getting some questions asked. So maybe a bit more low-key ahead of this game, but certainly when they're inside that stadium tonight, they have promised, the ones we've spoken to make some noise.
I bet they will. That looks like the team bus behind you there, Paul. When does the squad head to the Stadio Olimpico?
Yep, not long. Now, I make that just under 2 hours before the England players leave their base here in Rome, about 30 minutes outside of the capital, and make that journey. Like I say, with the police escort, should be about 20-25 minutes to the Stadio Olimpico. So at the moment, those players in there just gathering themselves, gathering their thoughts. There may be one final meeting with Gareth Southgate and his coaching staff. Just readying their thoughts, ready to go. They know what they need to do. They're coming up against a Ukraine side that very much know they are the underdogs, but they are no less a threat than any other team in this quarter-final stage. They are capable. They've beaten Spain, they've beaten Portugal in recent years. I saw them against France when they lost 1-0. It took an Antoine Griezmann goal from outside the area to finally unlock them. They have the ability to frustrate teams, and in Andrei Shevchenko they have a man who knows all about the Stadio Olimpico. Of course, he played for Milan at the San Siro, but he played in that stadium many times. He's well thought of here in Italy, and they will have the backing of a lot of Ukraine fans inside that stadium tonight. 18,000 in total expected in the stadium. So yeah, we're expecting the England players to leave and board that bus just under 2 hours from now, where they'll make their way to the stadium for this make-or-break quarter-final of a European Championships. England hoping to make a semi-final of a major finals for the first time in 25 years.
Bring it on, Paul. Paul Gilmour, live from Rome. Thank you very much for the moment. So, as Paul explained, Jadon Sancho should get his first start of the tournament tonight. The former England internationals that we've spoken to today think he'll make an instant impact.
It's great news, I think. It wasn't expected, and I am surprised, but to think that he can freshen things up and bring his qualities to the table at such an important stage in the tournament is only great for him. And you'd like to think that all of our top players are going to be needed, especially if we get late, if it goes late into the competition. And it's great that Jadon gets a chance to acclimatise himself to the competition, because he's not had that many minutes.
I think it's a surprise because he's not played often in the tournament. I thought he might have won with Phil Foden, and obviously with the injury to Saka, I thought he might have won with Foden to start. But that is a surprise. But Gareth's done that with a team. We've sort of had to wait till late on to find out in every game that we've played. So it's a surprise. But obviously he's a top player. He can come in and perform for us.
A little bit, I must admit. He's a super player, isn't he? An amazing talent. But the fact that he's not been involved so much so far suggests that I didn't think we'd see too much of him in this tournament. Now, he's a match winner. He's done it in Germany, goals and assists. And I think a lot of people will believe that adding him into the equation will give us something completely different. I expect us to go back to a back four. That seems to suit us a bit better, especially it frees up and it gives you an extra man going forward. If Jadon Sancho starts today, what an opportunity to go and show everybody what he's about. Obviously, a future Manchester United player as well, so it's exciting times for him.
So that's Jamie Redknapp's thoughts on Sancho's selection. Redknapp was, of course, famously part of the Euro '96 squad that captured the imagination of this country 25 years ago. Well, he had a final rallying call for the England players this time around and urged them to grasp this opportunity.
We always say the same thing in this situation. I've spoken to Declan Rice a little bit, and I said, just enjoy it. And as I say it, I think, what you talk about, you can't, until you win and it's finished, there isn't a great deal of enjoyment. So, just take the experience and playing against some of the great players in these stadiums. Just don't have any regrets. I think that was something that I had in my England career at times, and I was a bit edgy, perhaps didn't, play as well as what I did for Liverpool. And I think you get sometimes you worry about the consequences too much. And I think for all of these players, this is a moment that they can create history, and they should be enjoying it. They've got a great squad, a real togetherness, and there is nothing to fear. Of course, they're good sides. If we can beat Ukraine, you've got Denmark, Czech Republic, Italy or Spain, fantastic sides. But we've got the players to do it, and I'm sure especially with it being a little bit of home advantage, and now I'm getting carried away, Emma, but there's no reason why we can't do it. And I think the players should look at that as create history. Go and create history. Go and do something special that you'll live with forever. Those boys are 96. They're still dining out now. The players that did such an amazing job. Every time I see Sir Geoff Hurst, the pride that we have from what he did, and obviously a lot of the great players that played then aren't around now, and they've been, I'm sure, desperate for a team to emulate what they did. So hopefully this can be a team that can inspire another generation of football and footballers around the country. So we've waited so long. It does feel, I'm going to say it, about time that it did come home.